Hi, I'm Autumn,
And I'm Laura,
and together we're
the
the
Boo
Boo Sisters.
Sisters.
I don't know about you, Laura, but every time I hear that music, I'm just like dinna 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 doo 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 dancing. That's not what our theme song is,
That
but
sounded like the Mario dungeon music in the original and
maybe that's
Mario
what's in my
Nintendo. Dinna,
dinna
dinna, dinna,
dinna dinna dinna.
dinna, dinna, dinna.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. I just start dancing. It's like, yeah, another episode is playing.
Yeah. And you
Anyway,
know what? There's a ghost in Mario. We can branch that way.
dinna dinna dinna.
In
Maybe
fact,
that should be
if
our new theme song.
if our listeners didn't recognize the ghost laugh that we have at the end of our boo ratings is the Mario ghost. So there you go. A little
What? I
piece of
didn't know that.
knowledge.
That's hilarious. I mean, I've noticed the laugh, but I did not put it together until you just said that, that that's what it is. Hilarious. So today we promised our listeners that we would share some personal ghost stories, which we have not divulged before on this podcast. So now in season 4,
You had
we
to
can
think about
finally
it there
do
for a
that.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also like, wow, how have we not told our own personal stories through for 3 seasons?
We have told some stories, just not these
Yeah.
ones.
This story of mine is probably my most definitive. Like, I've had multiple paranormal things happen to me, but I feel like this one is like the pinnacle of my paranormal stories.
Okay. Well, go for it. I'm
Should I go
ready.
first? Okay.
I'm sure I've heard it before, but I'll hear it again.
Okay. So during my formative teenage years and my young 20s, I worked at a Broadway theater called Tuacahn Center for the Arts. Shout out Tuacahn friends. It was great. I'm such a theater person. I loved working in the theater. That's not what this is about. I was probably, when this happened, 22, 21, somewhere around there. I was in college and I was back for the summer. I was living at my grandparents' house. And when I worked at the theater, of course, I would come home at midnight, 1, 2, depending on how late the show ran and if the crew did something after, like grab a snack at Denny's or what have you. So on this particular evening, I came back to the house and my grandparents always left the front door open for me. And when you enter the front door, you can either stay on the main level, which is where the kitchen and living room and their bedroom is, or you can descend down a flight of stairs, which is where the basement living area is, an office is down there, and their guest room. And the guest room is, of course, where I was staying for the summer. So it's midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. I had just entered the front door and was headed down the stairs, not thinking much of it. This is my normal daily routine, what I always did to head to bed after a long day at the theater or a long night. And I'm halfway down the staircase and I start hearing shuffling coming from the darkness of the basement. I stop to listen just to make sure, is it an animal? What's happening? And I'm listening and I'm hearing like filing cabinets opening and closing, like pretty loudly, not subtly. And I'm hearing the office chair roll back and forth on its
Did you
mat.
think it was some sort of intruder? Because that's what I would have thought.
Yes, because it sounded like someone was rifling through all the doors. It was like open, shut, rifle, rifle, shuffle, shuffle, the chairs like going across the room. And I was like scared to death because I was for sure someone had broken in to the house. There's an outside door in the basement. And if they could have come through the unlocked door, right? It's St. George,
Hmm.
Utah. It's small town Utah. Someone could have easily come in through the door. I immediately wet my pants. Not really, but nearly. And I, after listening to this commotion, I ran back upstairs, went into my grandparents' bedroom. It's dark. My grandparents are sleeping. I go over to my grandma's side of the bed and I'm like gently trying to rouse her awake so she didn't freak out. But of course she's like, huh? What? What's happening? Like, and I'm like, Grandma, Grandma, there's somebody in the house. There's somebody in the house. I'm hearing things downstairs. And she's like, there's no one in the house. And I was like, yes, there is. There's someone in the house. And she's like, no, no. And I say, please come downstairs with me. There's noises from downstairs. And so she climbs out of bed. She's dragging herself to the stairs, poor grandma. So she comes down the stairs with me. I'm listening as we're going down the stairs, right? Because I'm also being like, okay, well, if there is someone down here, I'm going to have to be the one that fights this bad guy because
Yeah,
my
I was
grandma
gonna
is
say,
not
why
going
didn't you
to.
get grandpa
Right.
up?
Well, he's not going to be able to fight the bad guy either. So
But
I'm
he
like,
is
it's
the
going to be
man of the
me.
house.
Well, because I was afraid grandpa would get mad at me.
I mean, that's legit.
So me and grandma are going downstairs. I'm getting ready to like put up a fight. I am 20. I'm gonna fight this guy. I'm not gonna let anything happen to me or my grandma. We're going downstairs. We turn on the lights in the basement in the main room. I said the sounds are coming from the office. There's nothing in my room. There's nothing in like the side storage area. We're going into the guest room. I'm like ready to punch somebody's face and we flip on the lights. There's nobody. There's nobody in the whole basement. I'm like looking around for open drawers or papers on the floor that got tossed that I was hearing, or like that the chair right was across the room and not where it was supposed to be by the desk. And everything looks exactly as it should. There's no
Hmm.
drawers open. The chair is sitting perfectly at the desk, pushed in. There's nothing flung about the room. Everything's neat and tidy, how grandma and grandpa always left leave it. I'm like, okay, well, let's check the other spaces. We check the cove under the stairs. We check the bathroom, like behind the shower curtain. We're checking all the spaces where someone could hide.
Hmm.
There's no one down there. We check the sliding door. It's locked from the inside. So it's not like in the time I went to get grandma, someone could have come and like left because it was locked from the inside.
Mm.
And I'm beside myself. And at this point in my life, I had some things happen, but it wasn't until after that experience where I was adamant there had been something in the basement. I stopped, I listened for many seconds to these noises that were happening. I guess it could have been
Hmm.
like residual sounds of us just living in the house, but I was so scared to go to sleep that night. I definitely slept with the lights on. There was something in the basement, and I
And for
was so
anybody
scared.
wondering, this house was built for grandma and grandpa. Like they were the first ones in there.
Right. No one
So
else has lived in
there's
there.
nobody else who's been there. There's no history except for the land itself, which is kind of like up on a cliff, up on a mountain edge. So yeah, a little bit weird.
Right, because there's no history either that we could point to. And of course, we've had several relatives die, right? So maybe it was just
Somebody
someone
visiting
visiting, looking for old paperwork.
or saying straighten it up in here. I'm just kidding.
Right, but right, it was so strange.
And what did grandma think of it all? She just thought you were
She was like,
crazy.
"See, it's fine. You're just really tired.
You're
I'm
just
going back
hearing
to
things
bed."
again.
But I think I've told you that in that same room, that same office room where I heard the noises that night,
Hmm.
about once a week, every other week from that point forward, the alarm radio in that room would go off in the middle of the night. And I would
Hmm.
have to go over to that room and turn it off. It was like the radio had been clicked on.
So
And
maybe it was
could
somebody trying to get your attention.
maybe, and I guess grandma and grandpa could have set the alarm by mistake on occasion, but I eventually got to a state where I would go in the room, turn off the alarm radio, and be like, please let me just get some sleep tonight and stop playing with the radio.
I had that happen one time to me while I was staying there. And
The
I don't
radio.
know where you were, but it was the same thing where I was sleeping. Well, I don't think I had fallen asleep yet. It was really late at night, though, like one or two, maybe in the morning, and I was reading. And I heard it go on, and I was thinking to myself, is grandma or grandpa sleepwalking? And
Yeah,
then I went into the other room and it was just playing. And I was like, okay, I'll just shut this off then.
right. It's interesting to me that grandma and grandpa have never said, like, have come down and found it playing right the next day.
Maybe they did, but they just thought either the
Like,
other one
oh,
left
they
it
we left
on
this
or
on
yeah.
and just
Hmm.
not thought about it.
Yeah.
Freaks me out. When I come encounter with real ghost stories that I experience, I'm more scared.
Well, this is getting you ramped up for our stories. It's the build up process of, oh, remember that thing that freaked you out?
Yeah.
Mine is less scary, ghosty, but more paranormal, unusual.
Okay, great. Mix it up.
So I don't 100% remember the details of this, but I'll do my best. It was evening, and I was living at this time in Wisconsin with mom and dad, and you were still in Utah, but we kept in touch really well with each other. And I happened to know for whatever reason that you are going to the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Which iteration would have that been?
Which
Two or
which
three
movie?
or yeah.
I believe it was Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, which was in 2007 when it came out. Because, unless I'm wrong, somebody can correct me. There's a really haunting pirate song that kind of begins that one. I like explicitly remember being on my computer on my laptop in the kitchen doing homework of some kind, and it was open to a Word document, and I was writing down things, and it was something having to do probably with science. And I got up to go and ask mom a question, and she was downstairs with dad. And when I came back to my laptop in all capital letters, it was these words that I had never seen before and didn't know where they had come from. And it said something like, and this is because I just looked up these lyrics: Yo ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. And like the never shall we die part really stood out. I was like, what is happening? So it was something about death and like yo ho, thieves and beggars. I'm like, what is this? So when I looked it up, it like gave me the information that it was part of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And I knew you happened to be going to that movie. Like we had talked maybe earlier that day.
You know what? I feel
So
like I remember this. I feel like you texted me and I was literally in the movie and I was like,
yeah,
"What?
because
I'm in
I
the movie."
I was freaked out that I was like, oh my gosh, some spirit is trying to get a hold of me, telling me in this weird way that you are in danger. So I was like, I was frantically texting you, like, Autumn, did you go to that movie? Autumn, why aren't you answering?
And I was like,
Text me
"What? I'm
back.
in the movie."
You'll never believe what just happened. I have to tell you this after you get out of the movie. I'm pretty sure I talked to you right away when you got out and told you what happened. And I never
Yeah.
to this day have any idea how that got onto my laptop. There was no one else in the house. Mom and dad were both downstairs. Voice to text didn't really exist at that time. Like my laptop would not have done that, even if I had somehow said those words. There was nothing that should have put those words on the page.
Yeah, I remember this happening. I'm chilled out. Like, what do you think that could have been about?
I still don't know if it was supposed to be something. Oh, here's a sign that I never understood. So maybe it was telling me, hey, you should be watching the movie, not working on homework. You should be
Right.
out at the movie.
But nothing like bad happened. You would think it would be a warning, like you thought, like get out of that movie.
But you were fine. I don't think anything happened to you in the week after that or anything. Of course, during that time period, too, my phone wasn't the kind that I could even take a picture, or I would have probably.
Ugh.
That was my story pertaining to last week's episode. So if you haven't already listened to that one, go back. There's something that happens along those lines in the haunting I talk about.
What could it be? Just kidding. I know. I won't spoil it.
All right. Are we all spooked up and ready for this week's stories?
That's free choice. So I am excited. Laura, you get to go first. Congratulations.
Yes. Autumn, you're going to recognize this location.
Ooh, I love locations I know about.
And not only that, but we have been to this location together.
Okay. Is it the
Okay.
Stanley?
No, but it is a hotel.
Okay.
Does that give you a better hint? Can you guess it from that?
Hang on. I'm thinking. Is it the hotel we were just at? Wait,
Yes.
we were just at
But
it?
we didn't stay the night there.
No, I give up.
Mine is the Cavalier Hotel in Virginia Beach.
Oh, yay. I'm so glad you're doing this because It's on my short list, and so I can check it off and not have to do it.
Woo!
But I've been wanting to do it so much because, like you said, I've been there, but I'm so glad you're doing it. Did we tell
And
people we went there? I don't know if we've
no, we
told
haven't
that
really
story.
talked about it, but I will say a little something within this piece, and then we can talk about it more too if you want to,
That
than what
we,
I say.
right, because we did a fall trip to Virginia Beach. It was so much fun. And I said, we have to go to this hotel and have a drink.
As a matter of fact, I had already known about it before we planned to go. And I was thinking about doing one of our pieces on it already. And then it would have been cool too, because we would have had the information beforehand.
But now we'll just have to go back
Yeah.
and stay the night there. That would be
Yes,
so
I would
fun.
love to stay the night there.
Yeah, we have to do
Okay.
that. Next trip.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Searching for a haunted hotel that's the bee's knees? Look no further. Set atop a picturesque hill overlooking Virginia Beach, the Cavalier is everything you could ever want in a luxury hotel, haunted hotspots included. When it opened in 1927, it was the pinnacle of high society panache, with marble floors, stately arches, and grand staircases that took your breath away. It took 20 years to construct and was built out of limestone. Hint, hint. We all know what limestone does, right?
I did not know it was built out of limestone.
Yep.
That's cool.
Out of limestone and brick. And due to its grandeur and beautiful views, it hosted celebrity guests such as Bob Hope, Doris Day, Frank Sinatra, and various presidents. Not to mention the riotous big bands that would fight for a spot on the social calendar. Right from the jump, there were star-studded dances, military banquets, and oceanfront galas. But with a good life comes wear. And by the 2010s, age had caught up to the Cavalier. In 2013, it closed its doors. Some people thought for good. Thankfully, an ambitious $85 million budget saved the landmark. Craftsmen took painstaking efforts to keep as much of the old hotel as possible, right down to the fishbone pavers that line the front drive, which were dug up, cleaned, and replaced piece by piece.
Wow.
And I know that. I know that because I read the book when we were there.
That's so cool because I love that drive and I did not know that was original. That's so cool.
Yep. I think they did have to replace a few of them, probably because they were broken and stuff, but as
Yeah.
much as possible, yeah, they dug them up, actually cleaned them like piece by piece. That was just amazing to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The hotel was reopened in 2018 with over 80 guest rooms, a luxurious spa, a bourbon distillery, 3 restaurants, a resort style pool, a beach club, which it always had, by the way, and access to a secluded part of the beach, and plenty of event hosting space. From the moment you step inside, it's easy to imagine its original life. A lobby full of men in tailored suits, women in sun hats, and stacks of train trunks for a vacation to remember. You can still sense the 1920s craftsmanship in every ornate window, chandelier, and oiled painting on its walls. But you can also sense something else, something otherworldly that may just send shivers down your spine. A whispered voice in an empty hall, scratching on a wooden door, the faint notes of a piano, or a whiff of cigar smoke. One popular story tells of a cat that escaped from one of the hotel rooms and the little girl who chased after it all the way to the pool. When the cat jumped or fell into the water, the girl apparently jumped in to try to save it, and they both drowned. Guests and staff alike have seen the apparition of the little girl or the ghost cat, have heard giggling in the halls, clawing on doors, and even discovered paw prints on the back staircase after the new stairwell foundation was laid in the 2010s. There have also been sounds of phantom splashing heard late at night when the pool is closed. The most common place to see the little girl and spectral feline is in the pool area, which happens to also be adjacent to the bar where you can order the ghost cat, an alcoholic beverage that promises to raise your spirits. And when we were visiting Virginia Beach, we went to the Cavalier one night just to step foot in the historic hotel and see what we could see. We sat in the Raleigh room, which is a bar lounge area next to the pool, and I got to try the ghost cat drink while reading a history book they set out that showed the history of the hotel. And it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I didn't see any apparitions or experience anything paranormal per se, but it would be hard not to be in that place and looking at all those photos throughout history and not feeling something. It definitely had that air of just old, like of old history and so many people and so many energies.
I completely agree with your description that you step into it and it's almost like you're transported back to that time.
Mm-hmm.
You could just feel the energy oozing out of everywhere. It's so interesting. I've never been in a place that feels so, even going to the Stanley or
Mm-hmm.
places like that. There's just this aura of fancy 1920 energy there. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, at the Stanley, there wasn't that same level of, I don't know if I would call it party energy, but
Party energy.
where everything was champagne, like where everything was just sparkling and wonderful
Hmm.
and life was a joy and crazy
Right, because
adventure.
if you think about it, the energy of that place would have been the rich people are going there, right? The people with
Mm-hmm.
money back in the 1920s, like you said, the stars and the presidents and the like the people who loved lavishness and who just
Yeah.
seeped that out of their energy. And now it's in that historic hotel. It still exists there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. One of my favorite pictures from that book that I read, it was more of a picture history book, so it had older photographs and drawings and things of the hotel as it was. And one of my favorite photographs was of Zelda and Scott Fitzgerald sitting almost where I was when I had the book in my lap. Like they were poolside, and I was in this little anterior room, like on the veranda that was right next to the pool as I was reading it. So I could literally look over my shoulder and see where they sat, and this picture was taken.
Oh, that's so weird, isn't it?
And for
Like
anybody who doesn't know, he's the writer of The Great Gatsby. So again, like 20s time period. And he was supposedly somewhat inspired by this hotel too.
they should have a movie, a Great Gatsby watch party in that hotel.
And people should dress up and go to it.
Yeah, that would be so fun.
Oh
We
my
didn't
gosh,
even,
I would
Laura,
love
we
it.
have to go back if you come visit because we didn't even get to enjoy like the outdoor fire pit area because it was too
Hmm.
chilly when we went, and there'd be so much more to explore if
And
we had a key
there are
card.
three restaurants there, three.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Not to mention, yeah, as you say, like just being able to go into the hallways and the upper floors and walk around and experience it. Yeah, it would be pretty great.
Right. So we could just have all of our time. We could eat at all the restaurants,
Hmm.
sleep there. Yeah,
There's literally paranormal activity all over the hotel, like in every restaurant and every floor. So,
that's cool.
and I'm going to go over some more of those now. In what was previously the Pocahontas room, which is now called Becca Restaurant, a woman has been sighted walking around with her little dog, not just once,
Hmm.
but several times over the years. Another woman in 1920s attire, who is dubbed the Lady in White, has been seen traversing the third floor. And one couple that were staying there talked about her looming over their bed at night and then waking up to her just staring at them
Oh my
and
gosh,
then
why would
seeing
ghosts
her
do that?
turn and walk through the wall.
Oh gosh. Ah, ghosts. You have to stop doing that to people. I
Stop
think they do
looming
it for
over
fun.
beds. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm bored. I'm going to see how they react when I just stand here and
Yeah,
stare at them. I have nothing else to
exactly.
do. So, with
Yikes.
that particular lady in white, most believe her to be either Ida Harrington, who is the wife of the hotel founder, or possibly just an unnamed jazz age socialite because of her address, like of her
Hmm.
attire style. In room 712 is said to be particularly active. Guests have reported feeling a strong presence or the sensation of being watched, especially while sleeping again. Another common claim is whispering and knocking noises. And one guest who stayed there complained that they didn't sleep due to the constant footsteps and they thought someone was pacing in the hallway. When they finally got up to open the door and asked them to please stop or go to their room, they looked outside and no one was there.
Hmm. See, that's like what happened to me. You don't even think of ghosts. It's so
Hmm.
legitimately a sound that you're like just thinking, oh, this burglar or oh, this annoying person.
Yeah.
It doesn't
This
even go.
inconsiderate fool, I'm going to go tell them
Right.
what to do. Yeah.
Right.
Another complaint that's received a lot is that the elevators go up and down on their own and sometimes get stuck on different floors. And this was one thing that seemed to start when the hotel was closed down for a time due to the like reconstruction and stuff that went on, that they knew no one was supposed to be there. And yet the hotel's elevators would still go. Like we're still
Ugh,
going.
ghost
And
elevators are the worst.
right, like where are they
Yeah, they're
trying to
so
take
creepy.
you?
Right.
So just imagine this elevator in the middle of this construction process when everything's being stripped away, like wallpaper torn down and the flooring gone and everything else. And it just arrives on a desolate, dark floor. And you hear that elevator chime.
Mm-mm.
As a construction person, I'd be like, no, no, we're done.
Right. I feel like construction people, they might be able to have the most paranormal experiences if they're paying attention because they dig up so much land, they do so many renovations.
Maybe they don't want to pay attention.
Maybe it'd be interesting to poll construction workers and see how many believe in ghosts.
Yeah, that would be. Do we have any construction worker listeners?
Yeah,
If
you
you're a
should let us
construction
know.
worker, please let us know if you've experienced any paranormal happenings.
I've heard from multiple first responders that it's almost impossible to not believe in the paranormal if you're a first responder because they have so many unusual experiences
I've
with the
kind of
paranormal.
had
So,
a couple people tell me that sort of thing too.
yeah. But
It's
construction
interesting.
workers, I wonder if it's the same.
Could be. Aside from those little bits and pieces of hauntings throughout the hotel, the most well known story of them all is that of Adolph Coors, who was the heir of the Coors Brewery Company. And in the summer of 1929, Coors was recuperating from a bad strain of influenza. He had traveled east to Virginia Beach with his wife and daughter under the orders of the family doctor, but it wouldn't be the flu that took his life. On January 5th, he and his family were having breakfast in the Pocahontas Room, again now Becca Restaurant, when he suddenly excused himself and went upstairs to their sixth floor room, room 606. We don't know what might have happened in that room, but we know the aftermath. Minutes later, Mr. Coors exited the room through the window, falling to his death on the pavement 6 stories below. A staff member heard him hit the ground, and it was their blood curdling scream that followed, alerting everybody else on the premises. Was he pushed? Did he jump? There's a lot of speculation on what happened, but no definitive answer, as it was never fully investigated.
Why?
Don't you just love that? We come across so many things where it's like, well, this is totally sus. Let's just not investigate it.
Oh my gosh. That's so annoying.
When I was at the Cavalier with you and I looked through that history book, it had the article printed in the book itself. So I got to read the first little bit of the article and what it said. And I'll be able to attach that as a picture for this episode on the website. And what it said was one visit of a famous guest ended in tragedy. In 1929, Adolph Coors, founder of the Adolph Coors Company in Golden, Colorado, jumped or fell from the sixth floor of the Cavalier Hotel and died. He was 82 years old. After viewing the body, the coroner of Princess Anne County deemed an investigation unnecessary, according to the newspaper. So,
Ne-
unnecessary.
what?
It
That
could be
just means
because,
higher ups were killed him.
right, it could
That's
be
what I
because
always felt.
still of the mysterious circumstances surrounding his death. It could be because the body was to put it lightly, disfigured, or there was not a lot left to investigate. You
Ah,
can't find foul play if certain body parts and things are destroyed from the fall. I mean, 6 floors, that's a long way.
ugh, I can't imagine. Your poor family that's like there.
And
Yeah.
why it happened, who knows? It could be a medication thing. It could be some people think foul play, like maybe the wife or the family had some money to gain from it, a business partner, something else gone wrong, like someone he was meeting at the hotel. Or it could have just been an accident. He was older. Maybe he fell somehow, lost his balance. There's so many possibilities
Yeah,
and
like
no
maybe he
real
just
answers.
opened the window to get some fresh air and passed out because had been sick.
Regardless of why, it's well accepted that his spirit is in a state of unrest, wandering the entire hotel, but being seen in particular on floor number 6. In room 606, towels are found thrown on the floor, windows open and close on their own, the chandelier sways, and voices and shuffling noises have kept guests awake through the night. A few EVPs have also been recorded in the room itself, and from outside, many staff have seen a man in the window when the room was supposed to be completely empty.
What is to say that room 606 now is the same 606 it was before?
I think because of how much they tried to keep it authentic historically,
Okay.
but that's a good question.
I
I
mean, I wonder if
mean,
there's any way to know for sure. I feel like you would have to have old hotel maps or something. I don't
and
know.
or if the placards and things on the doors, which we didn't
Mhm.
see when we went there, so I have no idea. But if the numbers that indicate the door number are still the same and were never changed,
Mhm.
then they've
Right.
just kept the rooms the same. Good question, though. Good thinking. A photo of Mr. Coors was shown to a tour group once, and one of the women in the group gasped, recognizing the man almost instantly. She had attended a wedding reception at the Cavalier in the 1970s, and apparently this unknown man had appeared in a bunch of photos, though no one in the family or friend group knew who he was. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So just this random dude, like, who is that? I don't know. Is that somebody you know? No, I've never seen him before. Oh, weird. And then they just go on with their lives, la la la. And then they're on this tour and she sees this guy and it's that guy.
What? That's strange. That's like the times we've said where like there's kids on the tour and it's like, "Oh, your kids are so great." And the people are like, "What are you talking about? I don't have any kids."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's just some woman who didn't even think anything of it until years later. Perhaps the most disturbing of all, guests have seen a replay of this gruesome fall.
Oh no.
Like they've literally had people call thinking somebody has fallen from a room in the Cavalier before.
Oh no. Like people are seeing it past their window or like they're sitting outside,
The
on
way
that
that I
outside
read
area
it,
or
it was that people from the outside, like people looking at the building from the outside,
oh
see someone
gosh.
falling from a window and they call it in.
If it was residual, which that seems like it would be in the morning
Yeah, that's a good
because
question
they're
too. It
having
didn't give a
breakfast.
timeline to when people are calling it in, so I have no idea.
Interesting.
There have also been people who've heard what sounds like a wet thud outside.
Oh no.
Isn't that gross? Like, just think you're
Yes,
like
that's
walking
so
around the
sad.
building and all of a sudden you hear this wet thud sound. I would just
Yeah.
be, that's so cringy.
Oh no.
Ugh.
But also, if you have no knowledge of the history, you just are probably like, that was weird.
Yeah, should the hotel make that noise?
Yeah.
The sixth floor does not stop there. Another ghost who haunts the floor is, and potentially the stairwell, is an African American man in uniform. Some say he's a bellhop, while others believe it to be a World War I outfit. He apparently stands guard, warning guests that the floor is haunted.
Yeah.
So he'll
What?
say, "Oh, just be careful, there are ghosts up there."
That's strange. Are you sure it's not somebody playing?
Am I personally sure? I've not seen him, so I don't know.
Oh gosh. Okay.
One EVP on the sixth floor claimed to be someone named Mike, which could be related to that guy. Another EVP admitted to there being quote unquote many spirits on the floor. And during the winter months, when the hotel is closed, reception received calls from the sixth floor, but they knew that nobody was there. Perhaps that EVP about many ghosts is correct.
Yeah.
One of the staples of the Roaring Twenties was its lively music, and the spirits of the Cavalier seemed to keep on partying. The ballroom is another paranormal hotspot within the hotel, known to be the source of disembodied voices and laughter, cold spots, cigar smoke, and piano music. A number of people have heard the piano playing late at night in the ballroom. When they check, the room is empty and the piano is untouched. Or, since the piano was moved into the Raleigh room, which we visited, and that happened during the Reconstruction, there's been no piano at the ballroom at all, and people still hear the music from the ballroom.
Ooh, interesting. I think is the ballroom the room that was like across from the bathrooms? I think so.
I didn't really see it.
Yeah, I think it's over there. That's interesting, right? Because it's in the room where we were now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So you'd
Interesting.
think you should hear music from there,
From
especially
there.
if it was
Hmm.
something like a string tightening or loosening from temperature changes or something. But
Right.
yeah, aside from Mr. Coors, it's unknown whether there have been many other deaths at the hotel. But there's been a lot of interesting history aside from it being used as a hotel. Bootleggers used it for smuggling operations during the Prohibition era, supposedly leading to violent encounters. Also, in 1942, the US Navy took over the hotel temporarily as a military training center. During these moments in history, and even afterward, it's thought that there were unrecorded deaths here, including one hotel manager who supposedly died there in the late 1900s.
Interesting. I think I remember reading that too. But you can also think that if we've discussed this before, if spirits want to choose to remain somewhere or visit somewhere or however it might work, that so many people, this was like the trip of a lifetime. This is somewhere
Yeah.
they really enjoyed. It would make sense that multiple people might visit or hang out there if that's
To and
a thing that can
include
happen.
Mr. Course himself. It could have been just a beautiful, wonderful vacation. And maybe they'd gone there before, even, and it was
Hmm.
somewhere that truly meant something to him.
Right.
Yep, it could be. When it comes to the Cavalier Hotel, it truly is the grand dame of Virginia, with luxury and opulence that will hopefully sparkle for years to come as guests continue to check in for legend, lore, and perhaps just a small sample of some Gilded Age ghosts. The end.
Yay, that was so cool. I loved it. I remember riding my bike to the Cavalier with my husband when it was shut down, and there were vines growing through the wall into the pool area because we could look through the windows and see that trees and weeds were like growing inside of what would have been the pool area.
Mhm.
And there were so many bricks that had fallen off of the building. We could peer into what was the Pocahontas room and see the grandeur it once was, right? But things were covered in white blankets and there was dust caked on everything. And it was just something out of a movie, like, and we were these boxcar children, kind of like investigating it and peering through the windows. But I remember saying to James, if I had millions of dollars, I would buy this and turn it into what it once was. And I'm just so
Mhm.
glad that somebody did that, you know?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. We haven't even stayed there the night, but I'm glad to. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. It seems like there's been so much love put into it, not just by the current owners, but throughout time and the people who have been guests there. And there's just so much history. There's just so much history. The ghosts and the paranormal are just a small part of that. You
Hmm.
can you can go for that reason, but you can go for so many other reasons and see just all the things that have happened there and all of the joy.
Right.
And here I
Yeah,
am
I
trying
love
to
it.
kind of scare you, but at the same time it's cool to think about all of that. It's great. So, without making it seem less scary even now more than it was, Autumn, what is your boo scale rating of the Cavalier Hotel?
I think I'm going to give it a 2 again because I've been there and I just feel like there is a lot of presence there. So I do not doubt that it's haunted. I for sure think it's haunted. However, I think the things that are there are things of joy and love and nostalgia. And even the cat, right? I feel like is there
Mm-hmm.
because it's the cat's home. I'm not discounting the tragedy that has happened there, of course, but I think that's, less scary and more sad. And I would hope that if anything, people are just there because they are were happy there. However, I give it a 2 because the things that happen there would happen when I'm sleeping, and I feel like it would catch me off guard and freak me out. So,
Right. Even the most well-intentioned ghosts can still be scary. But I think I
right.
would also give it a 2, mostly for the unknown elements. If you're gonna suddenly see a replayed death of somebody out the window or hear that, or
Hmm.
potentially again come across something and the feeling of something watching you. Like those are the creepier ghost factors.
Mm-hmm.
And since we were there, I can tell you 100% there are places probably I would not want to go in the hotel by myself. Like it would give me the heebie-jeebies just because it does feel so alive. The hotel itself feels so alive.
Right. That you're like alone in some places, but you're like, I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So,
So there's a little creepy factor there. But otherwise,
right.
it was such a great place and I wanted to pour some of that life into it and tell everybody you should go visit if you're ever in Virginia.
Including ourselves. We have to go back. So
Yes.
maybe we'll do a Boo Sister session there and then
Well, we're
see what
still working
happens.
on our road trip.
I know.
For all of you waiting
Oh,
on news on our road trip, we are currently trying to work out the details of the locations we want to go and what the process is going to be. We've done some experimentation now, going to a couple places and recording before and after and sessions like EVP sessions. So we're getting it figured out.
yeah. I know this for certain. In our road trip, we have to allow some extra days to actually sleep because
Probably a
I
good
can
plan.
not stay up the whole night, travel to a new place, stay up the whole night. So
What?
I
I
know,
think we
crazy,
should. That's how
crazy.
Project Fear does it.
Oh, if only I was 20 again.
All right,
Uh,
it's your turn.
I'm going to transport you. So close your eyes. Here we go. As we're driving the windy roads, you can feel it shift. The road narrows, the trees get taller, surrounded by rocky peaks. And somewhere along the way, your phone quietly gives up. No signal, no help, just forest. We pull in, and a lake opens up in front of us, wide and dark, like it's been waiting. The water is almost too still. No ripples, no movement, just a smooth black reflection of the sky staring back at us. It feels deep, deeper than a normal lake should feel. We step closer to the shore, and the ground is uneven under our feet. Fallen logs, damp rocks, reeds brushing against our legs. Trees crowd the edges, thick and watchful, and suddenly it feels like the lake isn't the thing we're visiting. It's the thing observing us. There are cabins scattered around, some warm and lit, others dark and quiet, looking like they've been standing here long enough to collect secrets. As night settles in, the darkness doesn't fade, it presses in. The moon stretches a pale path across the water, and every sound carries a splash, a snap of a branch, something moving just out of sight. There's no city glow here. No comforting hum of traffic, just stars overhead, trees at the edge of the water, the moon lake sitting perfectly still, like it's holding its breath. And suddenly arriving here doesn't feel like the beginning of a trip. It feels like the beginning of a story.
I thought you were going to say it feels like the end. I was like, oh no,
The end! No,
it
this
feels like the end.
is Moon Lake, Utah. Utah. Hometown. I feel like we should have a hometown jingle, like
It needs
hometown
to be
haunting. It's a hometown haunting time.
Utah.
All right, that's what it will be from now on.
Your description is beautiful. I was right there in the moment. My eyes were closed. But as you were reading it, I was thinking to myself, this seems like a lot like those choose your own adventure books we read when we were growing up. And I kept thinking, I don't want to go down this road. I don't want to go closer to the lake. This seems like the end of the story, and I'm going to die now. And it's
You're
going
like,
to
turn
say,
around. I choose
yeah,
turn around.
choose the turnaround option. What's there's a cabin with lights on? Yeah, I'm thinking go there instead.
Go to that cabin. That one. Yeah.
I always pick the wrong things in those books. What does that
Yeah.
say to you?
That you make bad choices.
Oh, well, all right.
Okay.
So this is Moon Lake.
Long before Moon Lake ever reflected headlights or cabin lights, this place belonged to the land itself and to the people who knew how to move through it quietly. For centuries, the area that would become Moon Lake was part of the seasonal hunting and traveling grounds of the Ute people. Dense forests, high elevation, and cold, clear water made it a place of survival rather than settlement. It wasn't somewhere you stayed forever. It was somewhere you passed through, respected, and left unchanged. That began to shift in the late 1800s as settlers moved into northeastern Utah and Colorado. Water became currency, and the Lake Fork River, flowing through this narrow mountain valley, was seen not as sacred or dangerous, but as useful. In the early 1900s, plans were made to dam the river to support irrigation for farming communities downstream. The Moon Lake Dam was completed in stages beginning around 1906, and as the water rose, the natural valley slowly disappeared beneath it. What had once been forest floor, game trails, and riverbanks was submerged, creating the reservoir now known as Moon Lake. The lake took its name either from early surveyors or from the way moonlight reflects across its surface. Accounts vary, and no one seems entirely sure, which feels fitting. I think the name might come from its shape. It's kind of in like a crescent shape.
Ooh.
So I'll post a picture of like the map topography on our webpage in our details page. As cabins, campgrounds, and rows followed, Moon Lake became a place people came to rest, fish, and escape the heat of lower elevations. But it never quite lost its sense of isolation. Even as it became a recreational destination, it remained quiet, dark at night, and far removed from towns and cities. Over time, some of these structures closed for good. Scattered throughout the campground are old, weathered structures that have been left to decay over time. Crumbling fire pits, broken picnic tables, and rusted equipment create a haunting landscape that feels frozen in the past. These remnants tell stories of busier days when families gathered here for summer fun. Now they stand empty and silent, covered in moss and surrounded by overgrown vegetation. The structures serve as a physical reminder that this place was once full of life and laughter. Their current state of disrepair makes the campground feel like a ghost town. Today, Moon Lake is peaceful on the surface, calm, scenic, but the history is layered. Indigenous land, settler ambition, submerged wilderness, and a lake that exists because something else had to disappear. I'm going to jump into the hauntings. That's all the history we have. We don't have a lot
Mm.
of background of things that happened here. It's so rustic, so we're not quite sure. But here are all the things that happened there.
Aliens.
As I was reading this, I was like, man, I sure like the outdoor hauntings because this is like my
Yeah,
second park. There's something just creepy about the outdoors,
there
really,
can
because
be for sure. Yeah. And in Utah, there are a number of places that are land haunted or
right.
land paranormal.
And I think it goes back to Native Americans and
Hmm.
just that they were used. They were homes before we called it home. The old cabins sit quietly along the shoreline, their wood darkened by decades of cold winters and heavy snow. During the day, they feel harmless, rustic, worn, familiar, but once night settles in, the sound begins to change. Campers have noticed their dogs flat out refuse to go near certain spots. The dogs whine, dig in their paws, their tails get tucked tight between their legs. Like, nope, absolutely not. And these aren't timid dogs, these are like the big, brave dogs. Something is
Hmm.
telling them to stay away, and they listen. Horses
We
and pack.
trust the dogs.
Yeah,
We always trust the dogs here.
right. And the animals, because the horses and other pack animals react the same way. They suddenly get spooked, restless, pull back on their reins for no visible reason. There's no loud noises, no sudden movements, nothing that should make them like a horse get spooked. So there's just an invisible something that makes them panic. And then there's the birds. So normally the forest settles into a nighttime rhythm, but every so often the birds explode into flight all at once in the middle of the night, their wings beating wildly as if they've been startled by something moving through the trees, something that can't be seen. Sometimes, though, the opposite happens. The crickets stop, the frogs go silent, the forest just completely shuts down. Visitors have reported doors slowly creaking open on their own in their cabin, hinges groaning as if someone unseen had just stepped inside. Footsteps pace outside the cabins after dark, slow, deliberate, circling the walls, stopping just out of view. And then there are knocks, soft, careful knocks, but no one is there. One family who stayed in cabin 12 in the early 2000s said their nights were marked by tapping on the window after midnight. Not scraping, not the wind, but tapping, rhythmic, in like unison, like as if they're tapping out a beat intentionally. They checked outside
Mm.
with their flashlights more than once because they were certain somebody was out there. There was no branches touching the side of the cabin, nothing that came close to explaining what it could be. Inside, guests describe sudden cold pockets in the corners of their rooms, just like the air just drops away. People wake up with the unmistakable feeling of being watched, their hearts racing, unsure why. Others hear the creak of wooden floors, slow steps moving through their cabin in the pitch dark, only to find everyone is still asleep in their beds. Another strange thing people notice at Moon Lake is time doesn't behave the way it should. Campers check their watches thinking an hour has passed, only to realize it's been 3 or 4 hours. Others feel like they've been awake all night when only minutes have gone by. Some lose their time completely, unable to remember where it went or what they were doing to fill that time. And sleep doesn't help. The nights are restless, dreams are vivid here, and morning comes with an uneasy feeling that something happened, even if they can't remember what it was.
Do you think that that's true of anywhere that's more isolated in nature, though, that you lose track of time and time moves differently?
Yeah, I was wondering because when we fished as kids, I feel like the days were so much longer than being
Yeah,
at home.
I
So I wonder
agree.
if nature does that where it kind of shifts time, like just in your rhythmic body, right? That's like
Mm-hmm.
where we're meant to be is outside, right? That's how we are supposed to live as one with nature. And so I'm wondering if it kind of does something to our brains a little bit.
It forces your body to slow down. If that's the case and people aren't used to it, now again, maybe somebody in nature would be used to it. Somebody who camps more often that would go somewhere like this would be like, oh
Mhm.
no, that's not what normally happens when I'm camping. But
Right. But you're right. If they're not used to it and they're just thinking, like maybe they did this summer camping trip and they're like, it's brand new, it would
mm-hmm,
seem kind of odd. So I can
for
see that.
sure.
Then there's the lake itself. For decades, people standing along the shore after dark have reported strange lights hovering above the water. Fishermen see them while packing up for the night. Scouts notice them during late hikes. Even Forest Service staff have quietly acknowledged seeing them. The lights drift just above the surface, glowing softly as they move in straight lines and then suddenly change directions, cutting sharp across the lake at impossible speeds. Some people think they might be reflections from distant vehicles or campfires, but the campground's isolation makes that highly unlikely. There's no buzzing, no splashing, no explanation for what it could be. So, this is interesting because we've talked about lights on water before, and we've also seen lights ourselves in the sky that change
Yeah.
directions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like there's something to that, something
I
weird.
do think there is something with water as well. And if you think about it in terms of biology, like if you think about aliens in terms of biology, now I get they might not be 100% like humans or any sort of mammals or anything like that, but we all congregate to water, mammals,
Hmm.
humans, whatever. Like that's our life source, one of our life sources. So why wouldn't aliens be the same way? Maybe they also congregate around water. Maybe that's a fuel source. Maybe that's a power source. Maybe that's just how they survive.
Right. And if it's not, and if it's just paranormal, like paranormal balls of light, we already know that water
Can
has
amplify.
some kind
Mm-hmm.
of amplification, yeah, of paranormal activity. But some of the creepiest sightings at Moon Lake don't come from the water, they come from the surrounding woods. Campers report dark human sized shadows gliding between the trees. No faces, no features, just movement. You only ever catch them out of the corner of your eye, and the moment you turn to look, they're gone. People also have said they feel watched. Then they spot something standing just beyond the fire line. Never close, but never far, and sometimes there's more than one, moving together through the campground like they're passing through.
Ugh.
Like
Okay,
imagine
well,
that.
that
You're
I
like
hate.
sitting around the campfire and just beyond the light of the fire, you like see something dark, like a humanoid figure
Yeah.
watching you. Could
Oh.
be like native tribe residual energy moving through the forest or something,
Oh.
right?
Or just forest guardians of some kind, like we've talked about before.
Yeah, that could be.
I have been sitting at fires, like bonfires in people's backyards are hugely popular in Wisconsin. Anybody who doesn't live in the Midwest, maybe that's not a thing. Even if you've just been camping, been around a fire, I don't know if other people have experienced this, but when I'm sitting around a fire, I feel like things are closing in around me. Like when my back is turned and I'm facing the fire, I am really worried what's behind me in the shadows. And because
Yeah.
your eyes take in the fire and it's so bright, when you look around, everything seems darker. And I think it's a sort of pareidolia or whatever that concept is, where your eyes have been used to looking at these flames that are dancing, these shadows that are
Hmm.
dancing, and the light that's changing. So when you look somewhere else, maybe those flames and shadows and things are still kind of crossing your vision and making it seem like things are moving when they're not.
Hmm.
But you definitely get that sense that there are things around the fire with you. And I think that's why people tell ghost stories around the fire because it's already so creepy, like oppressive feeling.
Pareidolia did come up in my research. However, I feel, and we all know this to be true, that when certain senses are dulled, other senses become heightened. It's part of our
Mm-hmm.
animalistic nature. And I just wonder if all of us have some kind of sixth sense to being watched or other presences or feeling other people's or other things' energy, if when we can't see fully, or when we can't hear fully, or when we can't feel fully, if those senses of feeling watched are actually true because we can finally sense them because we're
Mm.
not using our other senses. I don't know, just a theory
So, what
putting
do
out
you
there.
think is dulled when you're at this campground or around the fire that you think other senses are heightened?
I think it's sight. Like you're not seeing correctly. So I think like if the fire is flickering in your eyes and you're feeling watched, right? And then you try to see beyond the flame, like maybe what you're seeing is not pareidolia. Maybe it's actually what you're seeing and you're just more in tuned to it.
You
I
know
don't
what?
know.
That takes on an interesting angle because, and again, I'm not trying to speak for any other culture, but I was pretty sure that in certain Native American cultures, part of their process of getting visions, like ancestral visions or just visions, is when you kind of zone out like around incense or around a fire and you let yourself relax enough to open your mind and open your energy and your spirit. So
Mm,
maybe in a sense, when you go and you have a bonfire or you're around a fire, campfire, maybe you're kind of doing the same thing. And maybe there's an energy that exists on the land that has recognized people doing that in different manners for eons.
exactly. And we've all become so zoned in on our phones and our technology that when we finally are able to put our laptops away and our phones away and like focus in on the nature around us, we have more senses than we ever thought we did, kind of thing.
And we don't trust them because we're not
Right,
used to it or because it
right,
freaks us out. So we close off to it like, oh, I'm just seeing things.
right. So
Interesting.
the story that brought me to research this location further is a personal encounter at Moon Lake that I'm about to read. And I had nightmares for days after reading this. So, of
Oh
course, I'm going to
gosh.
read
No,
this
why are we doing
experience
this?
to you.
Everybody shut our podcast off right now. No, I'm just kidding. Stay on.
So, this is a true personal encounter by this gentleman. I had been fishing from the shore that evening, just me and the lake. The sun was already slipping behind the mountains, and Moon Lake had gone still in that way it does right before dark. So I packed up my gear and started the short walk back to my truck, which was parked just beyond the tree line. That's when I saw her. She stepped out from between the trees, maybe 20 yards away. At first, I thought she was another camper's kid who had just gotten lost. She looked young. She was soaked from her head to toe, water dripping from her dark hair, her sleeves, and the hem of her clothes, darkening the dirt beneath her feet as she walked towards me. She wasn't cold the way a child should be after being in the water. She didn't shiver, she didn't cry. She just looked at me and said very quietly, "Can you help me?" Her voice didn't echo. It barely carried at all. I asked her where her parents were. I asked if she'd fallen in the lake. I asked if she was hurt. She didn't answer. She kept staring at me, her eyes wide and unblinking. That's when the unease really hit me. The woods behind her were completely silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. I told her to stay right there and I was going to get help. I turned to my truck to grab my phone. I leaned inside, my hands shaking just a little, and I dialed for help. It couldn't have been more than a few seconds, and I turned back around, the phone to my ear. She was gone. No sound, no footsteps, no splash from the lake. The trees stood exactly the same as before, unmoving, like she had never stepped out of them at all. The ground where she had been standing was dry. I searched the tree line. I called out. I ran to the edge of the water looking for someone. Nothing. Later, when I told people what I had seen, no one asked if I had imagined it. They just nodded and said, "You saw the girl." All I know is this: I don't fish at Moon Lake at dusk anymore. And if I hear a child ask for help near the tree line, I don't turn around.
Ugh, that just gave me the shivers.
I know, right? I read
Yeah.
that
Ugh,
story
there.
right before bed one night and I was like, great. Like all I could imagine was the girl from The Ring, right?
That's what
Like
I
the
was seeing
hair
too.
and her
Yeah.
face like dripping wet, just kind of like
Uh,
slowly walking. Ugh, jeez. So this unfortunately is not an unusual story. I read countless of blogs and Reddit feeds of campers and hikers and fishermen all having almost the exact same experience. The ghost
with
of a
a
young
girl that
girl.
looks drowned.
Yeah. She's described to
Ugh.
appear to be around the age of 7 or 8 and looks soaked as if she's fallen in the lake. She's shivering and her lips are blue from the cold. Of course, you want to help her, so you reach out to take her hand or dial for help, and she vanishes right in front of you. What could have led to this lost spirit for which we have no story and no history? There's no report or article or historical document that reports a loss or death of the young girl at Moon Lake, but many theorized from personal encounters that the girl must be from the mid 1900s. People say they hear a child laughing near the shoreline, even when no children are staying at the campground. Some have described tiny wet footprints leading away from the water and stopping abruptly in the sand. Others claim they've seen a small figure floating just below the surface of the water before disappearing completely. And still others say that they have had prolonged interaction with the lost girl, as in the story I just retold. What makes this
Hmm.
especially unsettling is how many unrelated groups tell nearly identical stories. So, could the lost girl be trying to still uncover a mystery that is still unsolved at Moon Lake?
Maybe. That does seem odd that so many people are having the same story.
Right, and it would be hard to know, right? Because it could be a kidnapping or still an unsolved person's case from 100 miles away
Hmm.
from any time in history, and we might never know. But it seems like this apparition or this spirit is trying to get help, is trying to make herself known to so many people. And it's like
But
she
then why
can't
would she
rest.
disappear when they try to give her help?
Maybe she's stuck. Maybe she still thinks she's alive and trying to get help. And so by the time that comes, she's like lost her spirit energy. I
Do
don't
you
know.
know if the experiences have all been at dusk?
I think they're all different times.
Okay. Do you know if they're in a similar area around the lake?
I think they're near the side of the campground and resort. But the
Hmm.
guy's story, he's like not in a popular area. There's more to the story, and he tells about arriving at the lake and talking to some people before going fishing in like a more secluded area. I'm
Ooh,
not sure.
interesting.
But Moon Lake is probably best known for what hides beneath the surface, which is something eerily resembling our good friend Nessie.
Oh,
Locals have a name for it. They call it Moonie. But the
oh.
stories began long before the cabins were even there and before boats were on the lake, before anyone thought this water was meant to be disturbed. On certain mornings when the lake is perfectly still, something moves beneath the surface. Not fast, not frantic, but deliberate. Witnesses describe a slow V shaped ripple cutting across the water, smooth and controlled, as if something large is gliding just beneath the surface. There's no splashing, no fin, no explanation, just the steady push of water and the unmistakable feeling of again being watched. Some see it from the shore, and others encounter it far too close. Boaters have reported a dark shape pacing them from behind, matching their speed no matter how fast they go in their boat. A massive, uneven form slipping through the water, too big to be a fish, too purposeful to be debris. One family swore the creature rose just enough to reveal texture and something dark and something bumpy and something scaled before sinking back beneath the lake. They fled the shore and never returned. The Moon Lake website is
Mhm.
full of people's firsthand accounts if you're interested in more stories, but I picked this
Of
one to
ghosts or
share
Moonie or
of
both?
Moonie, of
Oh,
Moonie.
okay.
So it was a warm June day. I was up at Moon Lake for a family reunion. The day was boring, and all of us kids wanted to go out on the lake for a boat ride. Great Uncle Melvin was more than willing to give us rides. As he was preparing the boat to enter the water, an eerie feeling suddenly came to some of our parents, but we didn't know that until later. We were too excited to pay attention or to care about what might happen. Of course, because we were kids. A bunch of us jumped at the opportunity of being the first ones on the lake that day. Great Uncle Melvin took us up by the dam and around to the backside of the lake. All of us were having so much fun that we didn't worry about it getting a little dark. As my mom recounts, the hair on the back of her neck stood on end. About 20 yards behind the boat and the engine waves, something was following us. The closer the boat came to the shore, the better Mom could see the thing following. It was like a log floating in the water, but it wasn't. You could almost make out a fin, and the water slithered over the huge thing as if it had scales. As the party approached the shore, the thing stopped following us. The boat touched land softly. After I was off the boat, my mom told me what she had seen. At first, I didn't believe her, but the more she insisted, the more I believed. To this very day, my mom will not go out on Moon Lake. We might have to go to Moon Lake on our trip because it has a cryptid and a ghost.
Where did you say physically it was located?
It is located in the Uinta National Forest, kind of near there, which is by Park City. So it's to
Hmm.
the east of Salt Lake.
Okay. Yeah, we
So
should
like
go.
that little corner. Let's get your boo rating, but I feel like I would be scared to be there at night.
Well, I'm not saying we have to spend the night at the campground. I'm saying we have family to spend the night with.
That would be
Okay.
fine. So your official boo rating then, Laura, is
A 3 because I am not really scared of it. The creepy story definitely is the girl. Mooney doesn't bother me. I love Loch Ness monster stories.
yeah.
Also, I probably wouldn't go swimming or anything in the lake because I'm just not the type to jump in a random lake. But I do feel like it would be creepier to see something on land that was like a humanoid, potentially child,
Mm.
than to see something in the water that could be like a big fish or something and you just don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I would stay there. I would have a bonfire there. I would stay the night in a tent with people. I don't know if I would stay alone or not overnight, but I would do all those. I think it would be fun to tell the stories around the campfire and to ask if anything's around and do some EVPs and things.
Yeah, I feel like I would have to be with a group. It
Not
seems
just me and you then.
spooky. I feel like I would need a big, muscular man there. But listen, that girl like really creeps me out. And I think it's from R-rated scary movies when we were like in our formative teenage years. The vision of that girl in my head just like really bothers me. And little kid ghosts,
Are the worst.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I would personally would give it a 4 just because of the one thing.
Mm.
Mooney doesn't scare me either. I would like to investigate that part of it. All of the other things that have happened to people seem fine too. Like it seems like it would be really active, and I think we could have a good investigation there.
This camp area should open a little gift shop and sell Moonie merchandise
That would be so cute.
because I think people would buy it. You said their website is just covered with these experiences, right? So
Yeah.
they could really drum that up and then put the money back into safekeeping the land in the national, like you didn't say it was a national forest, but just the natural landscape. You can always use more money in the natural resources.
Okay, if anyone works at Moon Lake Resort, maybe they already do have a little shop. Who knows? I should look on their website.
If anybody goes to Moon Lake
Somebody,
Resort and there's
or
a Moonie merchandise, you can send it to us.
or someone on Etsy could make us some Moonie merch, and that would be
There
awesome.
we
I would
go.
buy it immediately.
What would you want? Like a t-shirt?
Yeah, like a t-shirt or like a hoodie probably with some
You're all
embroidered
about the hoodies.
Moonie or a hat that said Moonie on it. Oh my gosh. I should
Yeah,
just have
that would
this
be
made. It
cute.
would be
Like a
so
slouchy
cute.
beanie.
Yeah. Moon Lake Resort's motto is out of this world, but still in Utah.
That's great. I love
Yeah.
that.
So you
They
could
need
also
to
have
put
a
that on a
hoodie with
t-shirt
that.
for sure.
Right.
That kind of sums us up.
Out of
Out of
this
this
world, but
world, but still from
still from
Utah.
Utah.
Yep.
Let's
That's
make that a
us.
sticker with our ghosts on it. I love
Why
it.
not?
That was a great episode. It was really fun. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as much as
Well,
I
I
did.
did. I feel like it's sometimes really just nice to have like a feel good episode. And I say that even if there's creepy stuff where you just overall the
The
whole
tone of
vibe is
it is light.
positive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Please join us for episode 3 in 2 weeks from now, if you're listening to it when it debuts. Otherwise, maybe it's already out. Go listen to it right now.
Go binge us. Binge us. That sounds weird.
Yeah, it does.
Just cut
I
that
wasn't
part
gonna say
out.
anything.
Go
Go
binge
binge
us. Let's
us.
put that. But honestly, guys, if you like or subscribe to our podcast, it really helps more than anything else could, because then more people find us.
Thanks for listening. And as always,
Happy
happy
haunting.
haunting.